Hey guys, Disney Day 8. Okay, this was a tough one. This is ridiculous. It's all about Alice in Wonderland, and it's just all over the place. So trying to tell you about the story is going to be a little bit difficult, but here we go. So Alice is a little girl, and it begins with her having a history lesson with her teacher. The teacher's reading to her, and she's bored, and she's not really listening. She's kind of a daydreamer. So the teacher says to her, "Why aren't you listening? Listen to me." She says, "Well, there's no pictures. There's nothing for me to look at." And she just wants a world full of nonsense. That's what Alice wants. So it starts off with this song. It's called "A World of My Own" for Alice in Wonderland. So here we go. All right, so all of a sudden, she talks about wanting to be in a wonderland. That's, I guess, why we got the title, Alice in Wonderland. So all of a sudden, she sees this rabbit, and this rabbit is in a waistcoat. And he's like, "I'm late, I'm late, I'm late." And he just keeps running off. And Alice, of course, is curious, because all she is curiouser and curiouser. So she runs after the rabbit, and she ends up following the rabbit into a hole. And she just keeps falling and falling and falling into this hole until she eventually lands in a room. So she's in this room, and there's a doorknob that's talking. So the doorknob talks to her, and she's trying to get through. She sees the rabbit through the hole, and she's like, I need to get in there, but she's too big to get through. And he's like, "Why don't you drink the bottle?" Says there's a bottle up on the table that says "Drink me." So she drinks the bottle, and she gets small. Well, that's great. Now she can get through the door. Oh, but the door's locked. So she needs the key. Well, the key is the size she used to be before up on the table, and now she can't get to it because she's small. So what do you got to do? He's like, "Well, why don't you look in that little box there?" So in the little box, there's like, I don't know, bread or a cookie or something. She eats it, and she gets bigger, but she gets huge. And then she's just upset, so she starts crying, and her tears are just making like big oceans of water everywhere. And the water even gets into like the hole of the doorknob. So he's like, "Stop, stop, stop." So then she, does she eat or drink? He says, "Get the bottle and drink into it again." So she drank into it, and she became really small, and she fell into the bottle. And the bottle's in the water, blah, 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 and it flows through the door. So she finally gets through the door. So then all of a sudden she's in this big ocean. Like, how ridiculous is this story? I'm telling you. So she's in this big ocean, and there's this guy there. What was his name again? Oh, the dodo. And he's singing this song. So he's singing that. It's not really part of the whole thing, but whatever. So he's singing that, and then all of a sudden they're going around in circles around this little... He's on this little island, and they're going around in circles and circles, and the water is disappearing, and the water's coming back, and it's disappearing. They just keep going around in circles and circles and circles and circles. Oh, and all of a sudden then she sees the rabbit, and he's in an umbrella in the water, and he's floating away. But then he gets out, and then he starts running away again. "I'm late, I'm late, I'm late. I gotta go follow the water." So he's following down some path, so that's what's happening there. And then all of a sudden she gets stopped, and she loses the rabbit, as she does every time. And Tweedledee and Tweedledum stop her, and they sing this song. So let me get to that one. Where did that go? There it is. Okay, here we go. So... do you do? And they shake hands, right? So they're shaking hands. So they try to get Alice to play a game. Okay, I have so much stuff written down for this crazy one. Okay, so they want to tell stories. So that's what Tweedledee and Tweedledum do. So they talk to her about the story about the walrus and the carpenter. And I'm just going to go right to the punchline. The walrus eats all the oysters. This is what it's all about. He just eats all the oysters and the carpenter gets nothing in the end. So then they start on another story. She said it's a very sad story, but whatever. So as soon as they start another story, she's like, I'm done with this. I am sneaking off. She sneaks off, sees the rabbit again, follows the rabbit. And then the rabbit suddenly sees her and he says, Marianne, is that you, Marianne? She's like, I'm not Marianne. She doesn't know what she's talking about. So he asks her to find his gloves in his house. So she's looking around and she sees like food, like a cookie, and she stupidly eats it. So she eats it and grows big as the house. Her hands are outside the house. It's insane. So a whole bunch of craziness happens. This lizard comes with a ladder and they're trying to smoke her out and they can't smoke her out. And then eventually the rabbit's trying to kill her with a carrot and then she chews on it and she eats it and she gets small again. So yay, she's back to small. And this time she's only 3 inches tall. So then what happens is she's kind of running around looking for the rabbit. He takes off. He's like, I'm late. I'm always late. And he goes and he's, disappears again. You can't see him. And she's in this flower bed with all these flowers. So then they sing this song. It's a very pretty song. See, that just sounds so mellow and nice, but no, then craziness happens again, because that's all that happens in Alice in Wonderland. It's all crazy. So, the flowers accuse her of not being a real flower, and she's like, well, I'm not a flower. And they're like, you're more like a weed. Like, you're just like a little gross weed. You can't be in our flower bed. So she gets upset. So, anyway, where are we? Okay, so then she scoots off away from them because they thought, they were too prissy for her, I guess. So next she runs into that smoking caterpillar guy, right? And he's like, who are you, with the letters, right? So they do all that letters. So she's just completely confused with everything that's going on. So that's what she says. Everything is so confusing. So she ends up getting frustrated with him because he really didn't make any sense either. So eventually she walks away from him and he says, I have something important to say. So of course, with Alice being so curious, she goes back. So what? And he just says, keep your temper. Like, what a waste of time. So anyway, he ends up turning into a butterfly and he tells her about this food there. I think, again, it might be cookies or bread or something. He said, one side makes you taller and the other side makes you shorter. So be careful which side you eat. What else was there? Eats cookies, grows the size of a tree. Oh yeah, okay, right, okay. So I have to keep on track because it's like so confusing. All right, so then she ends up eating the cookie that makes her really tall. She like goes right up through the trees. So when she goes through the trees, of course, more drama happens. So there's this bird. The bird calls her, you're a serpent, you're a serpent. So she eats the other side and then goes back down to 3 inches again. So there we go. Easy enough. So then again, she's walking around. I think she's back to normal size by now. I'm so confused, honestly. She meets the Cheshire Cat, and we know how evil the Cheshire Cat is. So she asks him which way to go. There was a couple of different ways to go. And he tells her that the White Rabbit if you want to find the White Rabbit, you have to find the Mad Hatter or the Mad Hare. So, but he told her to go one way, then he told her to go another way, and then he disappeared, and then he went this way and that way. So she was confused. So anyway, she just keeps walking and finds the rabbit again. No, she didn't find the rabbit. Actually, she found the Mad Hatter and she found the Mad Hare, and they were sitting having a tea party. So she kind of goes over there, and they're singing that very unhappy birthday to me, very unhappy birthday to me, that song, right? So they're singing that song. She just kind of sits down, and they're like, you can't just sit down without being invited. But then she just, tried to say to them, hey, I enjoyed your singing, it was really nice. But there are loads of crazy, I can't even explain it all, of what happens next, where they're just talking about nonsense, more nonsense, and another one. So she just ends up getting frustrated with the rabbits. With them. The rabbit shows up, and the rabbits, they figure out that the rabbit's watch is 2 days late. So another ridiculous thing happens where they open up the clock, and they put jam in it and tea in it and all this stuff and smush it together, and I don't know, maybe it fixed it, maybe it didn't, I don't know, they don't really tell you, but whatever. So anyway, Alice takes off again. So she's trying to follow the rabbit because he said he was late, and he was going away again. So she chased him and lost him again, and she's out in this crazy weird forest with all these weird things. Like there was an owl with an accordion neck and a whole bunch of other things. And there was these little, what are they called? Mom raths, I think. And they were like little fuzzy little things, and they made an arrow to show her a path to go, so that she should go the path. So she starts following the path. She's like, yes, I've got a path to go. But then there's this dog with a brush in his face. His face was a brush, so he starts brushing the path away so that she can't go on the path. It's like, oh man. So then she just gets really upset because she doesn't know where to go. She doesn't know where she is. She just sits down. She doesn't follow anybody's advice. She cries. All these strange animals around her start crying. And then there's another song. It's here somewhere. Where is it? There it is. Very Good Advice, it's called. Okay, so let's do that one. Here we go. There we go. So, sorry, we're done with that page. Move on to the next one. All right, so then she, just sits there, and after she sings, the Cheshire Cat is coming back. So he's back. So Alice at this point is just ready to go home. She doesn't want any more adventures. She can't find her way. So the cat said, you must find the queen. The queen will get you home. So he shows her a door inside a tree and pulls the door down, and there's somewhere for her to walk through. So she starts walking through. So she walks through, and then, I didn't play the I'm Late song. I forgot the I'm Late song from the rabbit. Let's do that right now before we go on, because I forgot the I'm Late song. at any point in the song because he's late all the time, and he just keeps going. So there we go. So she walks through the door. She's walking through the door, and there's a bunch of cards. The cards are kind of part of the royalty of the queen, and they are painting the roses red. We're painting the roses red. Yes, we're painting the roses red. Yeah, not real songs, but painting the roses red. So they're actually physically painting them because Alice asks, of course, why are you painting the roses red? And they're saying, well, they were white roses, but the queen wants red roses, so we're painting them so she doesn't know that they weren't red roses in the first place, so that she doesn't decapitate us, because she would say, what? Off with our heads, right? So eventually what happens is Alice helps them. They're painting the roses red, and then the queen is coming, you can hear in the background. So in comes the rabbit. Finally, he's doing his job. He is introducing the queen. That's what he's supposed to be doing. So he introduces the queen of hearts, and the king, the little king, the tiny little king. And she's like, she sees the paint dripping, and she's like, who's painting these roses red? Whoever it is will lose their head. So, everybody blames everybody. Every card blames the other card. It was the jock, it was the queen, it was the da-da-da-da. And then eventually they get around to Alice. So, of course, everybody blames Alice. So, the queen's very mean to her, and she says, make sure you call me Majesty. And so she says, yes, your Majesty. So she tells her, I'm trying to find my way home. And then all of a sudden she just says, do you play croquet? And then they start playing croquet. So let the games begin. The queen plays first. Silence, she says. She's like, just everyone quiet, while she's focusing and trying to play. So she uses this bird to hit the thing with the little moth rats, and just boom, 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 goes through them all. And of course, one of the cards misses it, and she doesn't get it through. So what does she say? Off with their heads. So, as she always says. So eventually, another thing that happens is the Cheshire Cat flips the queen and makes it look like Alice did it. And she said, off with her head, off with her head. So they were going to, do it to Alice too. But the king, the meek little king, said, well, we should have a trial. Let's have a trial for Alice. So they started a trial. The Mad Hatter was a witness, and there's all that kind of stuff going on. So the queen said, sentence first, verdict last. So that's they do everything backwards, obviously, in this show, right? So everything's like that. So that was that. And then we're almost done, like finally. Oh my gosh. What else happened? So she said, in the end, Alice was guilty. So she had to, get her head cut off. So it was like, off with her head, off with her head. Yeah, the queen yells that to her. And then somehow, I don't know where Alice found it, but she found more food and she started to eat it. And then she grew big, and she was yelling at the queen and saying how awful she was. But then as she was yelling and yelling and yelling, she started to shrink and shrink and shrink again. And then she was small again. And then again, the queen says, off with her head. So then Alice is running through a maze, and everyone's chasing her, all the cards, it's just everybody. And the queen's running after her too. Off with her head, off with her head. She's going around in circles. The water's back again. And then she ends up in a big cup of tea with the Mad Hatter. And I think that the dodo bird was in there too. I can't remember. Oh my gosh. And there was a circle of smoke. And the queen was still chasing her. Off with her head, off with her head. And she finally gets back to the doorknob, and she gets through there, and she looks through the doorknob, and she sees herself sleeping. What's that all about? And then all of a sudden she wakes up, and then the teacher says, Alice, are you listening to me? Are you listening to me? So she says, silliness, tries to tell her stories of the dream, but she wasn't listening. She says, come along, it's time for tea. And then there was one other song, but I couldn't, for the life of me, remember where it was sung in the song. So I'll play that as the last song, since that's the end of the story. Did everybody live happily ever after? I don't know. The story's crazy. All right, so here we go. This is called 'Twas Brillig. So I'm assuming it was in the part where all the animals were a little bit weird and they didn't look like real animals. Like one was a dog with a brush face. So who knows? Around that time. So this is the last one. I really enjoyed the music from this movie. It was actually pretty good. There were some of the prettier songs were really nice. So, thanks for listening. See you tomorrow. Hey guys, good morning. It is Disney Day 9. No story today. I'm just going to play a few classic Disney songs, starting with the Ballad of Davy Crockett. Here we go. This is the classic, Mickey Mouse Club song, Mickey Mouse March. So. And you can't have Disney without Haley Mills, so this is from The Parent Trap. It's called Let's Get Together. If the book would stay open, stay. All right. Okay, one more. All right, the last one is The Adventures of Winnie the Pooh. There is really only that one song in that one, so let's do Winnie the Pooh. that's it for today. There'll be another story tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Hey guys, Disney Day 10. We're now on to Peter Pan. This has some nice songs in it for sure. So Peter Pan is about a family called the Darlings. There's the mom and the dad, and there's Wendy, she's the oldest, and then there's John is next, and then Michael is the youngest. So Wendy likes to tell stories, and she tells stories about this I guess imaginary boy, they think, like the parents think he's imaginary, and his name is Peter Pan. So and how all the things that he can do. So it actually starts with this first song. It's called "The Second Star to the Right," and this is right at the beginning of the movie. So I'm going to play that first. So here we go. Find out later what the second star to the right, all that means. So there we go. So we're in their house. Basically, Michael and John are in a nursery, and Wendy's in the nursery too. She's kind of like a mother to them. She loves to tell them stories. They also have this dog, and the dog is called Nana. It's actually like a nanny. It actually cleans up after them and does everything for them. So it's time for these kids to grow up. The dad gets really upset. That means they need to grow up. So they're going to take Wendy out of the nursery and make her go into her own room, and they're really not happy about that at all. He says it's absolute poppycock that they are still acting the way they're acting, like little kids. So this was going to be Wendy's last night in the nursery with the boys. So even the dog was getting kicked out. So no dog either. So that was it. Kids have to grow up, and they don't want to, of course. But then everyone goes to sleep. Now, Wendy had made sure to leave the window open so that Peter Pan could get in. So Peter Pan and his little friend Tinkerbell show up, and Peter's looking for his shadow. So somehow he's lost his shadow. So they look everywhere. Tinkerbell finds it in a drawer, and then it gets out. And it's like Peter has to chase it all over the place because it just won't stay where it's supposed to. So eventually Wendy wakes up, and she says that she was saving it for him. So I guess his shadow comes around all the time. So Wendy then stitches the shadow onto Peter so that it doesn't go anywhere, right? So very nice of her to do that. So she tells Peter that she's not going to be telling any more stories and that she has to grow up tomorrow. And he's like, no, that's why I come here. I come here for your stories. I like to take them back to where I'm from, Neverland, and tell the Lost Boys about them. So he's really upset. He says, I'll take you guys to Neverland. You guys can come to Neverland with me. So we'll all go. So Wendy's kind of excited about that. She's like, yeah, let's go to Neverland. So the only thing is, they're like, how do we get there? How do we get to Neverland? So he's like, well, we can fly. So they're like, well, how? So then he says, just think happy thoughts. So they have to think happy thoughts, and they try to fly, and they can't fly. It's not working. The only way that they can fly, Peter forgot. He's like, oh, Tinkerbell has pixie dust, so she can spread the pixie dust on you, then you'll be able to fly. So she does that, and then everyone can fly. So just to go back a little bit, Wendy did try to kiss Peter a little bit, and Tinkerbell got really jealous. So Tinkerbell is very jealous of Wendy. She does not like Wendy at all. All right, so the next song is You can fly, you can fly, you can fly, because this is where they fly, right? This is after getting the pixie dust, so. Fly, you can fly, you can fly. So all of a sudden, Wendy, John, and Michael, and Peter Pan and Tinkerbell are off to Neverland. So they're flying to Neverland. So there we go. So as they're coming in, it kind of goes to the other part. The next part is we're in Neverland and there's a pirate ship. And that's where Captain Hook is. And there's a little backstory there. Peter Pan and Captain Hook are arch enemies. Peter Pan actually cut off Captain Hook's hand, so now he wears a hook. And there's also this crocodile that Captain Hook is deathly afraid of, and he ticks because I think he swallowed a clock. So it's like tick tick tock. So every time he hears that, he freaks out because he's Captain Hook is not is a scaredy cat. So anyways, Captain Hook has like a sidekick. His name is Smye, and Smye calms him down all the time. So Captain Hook sees Peter Pan coming into Neverland. He's like, all hands on deck. And he gets the cannon out. So they shoot the cannon and they try to, get them. But luckily they, they move right out of the way. So Tinkerbell like dives down. I don't know where she's going. It's like, why is she going so fast? Stop going so fast. She went down into the deep, I think she went down into the water and then back up again. And then she found the Lost Boys. So she told them, when she found the Lost Boys, she told them all about what was happening and said, this Wendy girl is here. We have to get rid of her. So all the Lost Boys go out into the forest and they find Wendy flying around and they have a slingshot and they're trying to get her so that Wendy falls. But luckily Peter Pan catches her. So Peter Pan was very mad at the Lost Boys. He says, I brought you a mother and you do this to her. So, but they ended up blaming Tinkerbell because it was her fault, right? She's the one that instigated it. So Peter Pan banishes her he was going to banish her forever, but he only banished her for a week because Wendy was the one that said, no, that's too long. Can't do that. So, then Peter Pan tells the Lost Boys to go catch some Indians, so I guess they do that all the time. I don't know what's happening there. So then John and Michael join the Lost Boys, and then the next song comes on. So that's called, this one is called Following the Leader. So they're going all the way through trying to find the Indians, all right? That's this one. Now, as they're looking for the Indians are in trees and they surround them with the trees, so they actually end up catching the Lost Boys. And they tie them all up, and they threaten them with, "You need to save Princess Tiger Lily." So this is someone's kidnapped Tiger Lily, and they need to get her back. So she's the princess. Into another scene, Peter Pan and Wendy go see the mermaids. Of course, they love Peter Pan, but of course they don't love Wendy because they're jealous of her. Anytime there's a new girl, and just like regular girls, they do that all the time. That's funny. So they go and see the mermaids. They're jealous. Then Peter Pan hears Hook. So he hears that they're heading for Skull Rock. And that they have Tiger Lily, and they will release her if she tells them where Peter Pan is. So Peter ends up changing his voice to sound like Captain Hook, and he tells Smile to release Tiger Lily, and then he hears from the real Captain Hook, and back and forth and back and forth. Poor Smile's so confused. Smile ends up shooting at Hook, and then Hook is like hanging off a cliff, and guess who's right underneath the cliff in the water? The crocodile, because the crocodile wants to eat Hook. So he falls into the water, and then the crocodile's got him in his mouth, and blah, 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 and he's flying around, swimming, trying to get back to the ship. The crocodile just keeps following. So they end up saving Tiger Lily and taking her back to the Indians. So at the ship, the crocodile just circles and circles, and Hook is so stressed out. So Smile finds out about Tinkerbell and how she's banished by Peter Pan, and he tells Hook about that. So Hook tells Smile, "Go pick her up. Like, we can use her because she, we'll trick her and we'll convince her to tell us where Peter Pan lives, right?" So they go pick up Tinkerbell, and then it goes on to another scene, and Peter Pan meets the Indians, and the big chief is there. He's happy that they saved Tiger Lily, and makes him an honorary Indian. And meanwhile, Tink is with Hook. She he talks about Wendy and says bad things about her just to convince Tinkerbell that she can, help Hook. So Wendy's to blame for everything. Let's Shanghai Wendy and take her to the sea on the ship, so that way that she won't be near Peter Pan. So Tinkerbell was really happy about that. So Tink told them where Peter Pan lived, so they tricked her, and then Hook promised not to lay a finger on Peter Pan, so he wasn't going to touch him. So anyway, back at the Indian camp, Wendy is jealous of Tiger Lily now because all the girls get jealous. So she says to Peter Pan that it's time for us to go home. We need to go home in the morning because I need to grow up. So that's crazy. And then what do we talk about? Then she talks about her mother, because we're getting into the next song again. So the next song is to do with her mother. Is that the first one? Let's find that one. Find it. It's on a different page. Your mother and mine. Oh, geez, I don't know where that one is. Hold on. There it is. It's on the last page. So this is called Your Mother and Mine, and this is her talking about her lovely mother, because she loves her so much. Okay, this is slow. Here we go. So. that point, she's singing the song and she's holding Michael and he's falling asleep. She puts him into bed. And then John says, no, we have to leave at once. And then Peter gets pretty upset. He says, go, just go, but you can't come back. And then Wendy says goodbye to Peter and he's not really listening. And then she goes outside and everyone's been captured by Captain Hook. So everyone's captured. He takes them out to the ship. And then there's another song. Loads of songs in this one. So this is called The Elegant Captain Hook, if I could find it. There it is. Okay, so here we go. Singing that. So he says to everybody, if you're not going to join me, then you have to walk the plank. So, nobody does it. But then he tells Tinkerbell, well, he's really telling everybody that he left a present for Peter Pan. He kind of dropped a present down into his place. And there's actually a bomb in there. So he's going to blow up Peter Pan. So Tinkerbell rushes away just to go back to Peter Pan so she can tell him. So as she's going there, she gets in and she's telling Peter Pan, it's a bomb, it's a bomb, it's a bomb. And he doesn't believe her. He's like, it's a present from Wendy. It's so nice of her to do that. And then she ends up grabbing the present and going away with it, and it explodes. And Tinkerbell falls somewhere, and we don't know where. So then Peter searches for Tinkerbell. She's very hurt, but they don't really go into it very much. But he does say to Tinkerbell, he says, you mean more than anything to me, more than anything in the whole wide world. And I think she needed to hear that, so she doesn't have to get so jealous. So back on the ship, Wendy decides she's walking the plank because she will never join Hook. So she's at the end of the plank and she jumps. But there's no splash. So there's no splash. And everybody's like, well, why is there no splash? Of course, Peter grabbed her. So then Peter puts her wherever, I guess, back on the ship. And then he says to Captain, he says, say your prayers. And they have a sword fight. Of course, the crocodile's down in the water waiting patiently to see what happens, right? So eventually, Captain Hook calls Peter a coward. So he says, do you have to fly? Just don't fly. Like, if you're not a coward, then you won't fly. So he doesn't fly. And then Captain Hook almost gets him. He's like right on the edge, but then he turns it around and puts him in something, in the sail or whatever. And he tells him to say, tell me you're a codfish. Tell me you're a codfish. So everybody calls him a codfish. And then Hook ends up falling into the water, and the crocodile chases him and grabs him and chases him, and he's swimming away again, and he goes way out into the sunset. So then Captain Peter Pan and the boys take over the ship. So they're saying, where are we going to sail? He said, we're sailing to London. We're taking them back home. So they're like, well, how are we going to do that? How can you get to London from here? There's no way we can do that. So Tinkerbell puts her pixie dust all over the whole ship, and then they start heading to London. So then that's the end of that part. Then it goes back to the parents being in the room, coming into the nursery, and Wendy's sitting at the window. And then the parents see the pirate ship flying away into the moon. And then at that point, she tells some stories and stuff, and they, because they saw the pirate ship, the father actually remembered from his childhood the same thing happening to him. So it's something that's just been happening all the time. So I guess everybody lived happily ever after. So that's the end. So there we go. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you tomorrow. Hey guys, Disney Day 11. I only have one song from this movie. This is from Pete's Dragon, and it's called Candle on the Water. Basically, it's sung when Nora lives in the lighthouse with her father. And she sings the song because her fiance, Paul, was lost at sea. So this is her saying that I believe that you'll come back someday. So this is called Candle on the Water from Pete's Dragon. Here we go. Nice short one today. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow. Hey guys, Disney day 12. I apologize for the delay. I got a new phone and it was a little bit of a nightmare, so now I'm just trying to catch up. So this is day 12, even though it's the 17th. So today we are going to talk about 101 Dalmatians. So way back in 1958, Roger Radcliffe was living in a flat, a bachelor flat in Regent Park, London, with his dog, his Dalmatian, Pongo. So he was living the single life, both of them were, but Pongo was ready for a mate. So he was trying to find a perfect match for Roger and then a perfect match for him. So they were looking all over in the park and he finally found another Dalmatian and this beautiful lady named Anita. So, you know, the shenanigans went on where he would keep trying to get them to meet, and then eventually they both fell in love, and then they ended up getting married. So there was Pongo, Roger, Anita, and Perdita. So Perdita was the other Dalmatian. So both sides fell in love. So one day at their place, they moved into a townhouse. One of Anita's old schoolmates, Cruella de Vil, she came over finding out that Perdita was pregnant. So she was pregnant. She was going to have little puppies. So she's like, I want them. As soon as they're born, you let me know. So then she's gone. And then Perdita has her puppies. She has 15 puppies, like such a huge amount of puppies. So she has 15. So then a few weeks later, Cruella comes back and she says, I want to purchase them. I'm going to buy them. Not telling them what she's going to do to them. And of course, Roger says no. He's like, I'm not giving you these. And she swears revenge that I'm going to, she didn't tell them what, but we see. So weeks later, Cruella secretly hires two bad guys, thieves, Jasper and Horace. So they steal all the puppies. So Scotland Yard gets involved and they can't prove anything. So Pongo and Perdita, I can never say her name, Perdita, have to take it into their own hands. So they use the twilight bark, which is, all the dogs barking everywhere around London to figure out what's happening. What eventually happens is the Colonel, he's an old sheepdog, he finds out that there's puppies barking at the old DeVille, was it a manor, I think it was a manor, the old DeVille place, they called it. So there's puppies barking in there, and what Cruella intended to do was kill all of the puppies and use them for their dog skin for fur coats. So Pongo and Perdita, they have to go across the country trying to get to the puppies. So they find the puppies. I should play the song now. I always forget to play the song. The song is called Cruella de Vil, and it's something that Roger wrote, which he ended up making a lot of money on because it ended up being a hit. Okay, so this is called Cruella de Vil. The song of the movie. All right, so Pongo and Perdita, they go to, save all the puppies, and while they're there, they find there's 84 more puppies. So, of course, they're such, good dogs. They adopt them into their we're gonna take everybody, we're gonna get back home. So they start to try to get back home, and of course there's these other bad guys in there, plus Cruella are trying to catch them again. It's like lots of things happen, and then afterwards Cruella and the other guys, they just smash into each other and they're out of business, right? So they eventually get back home, all covered in soot, and then they're counting the puppies, and the nanny is counting the puppies, and they get to 99 puppies. Then I'm like, well, wait a minute, there's only 99. But oh yeah, the Pongo and Perdita make it 101. So there we go. So what ends up happening is Roger buys a huge big house so they can keep all the puppies, and everybody lives happily ever after. I love that. Anyway, that's the story for today. Thanks for listening. See ya. Hey guys, Disney Day 13. The next one is going to be Lady and the Tramp. This is set in 1909 in Italy. I'm assuming it's Italy because it's all Italian music. So Lady is a Cocker Spaniel, and she grew up pampered. So she was a little bit of a princess. So the first song is actually called Lady, so I'm going to play that right now. So here we go. So that's that. Next, she basically has two friends in her neighborhood, and it's called Jock or Joke. I'd say Joke because that's how I know it in Scottish. He's a Scotty dog, and Trusty was an elderly bloodhound. They were her friends. So across the town was this, scruffy looking stray terrier mix, and his name was Tramp. So this is his song. It's called He's a Tramp. All right, so he lived across the town, and he kind of wandered the streets, feeding on scraps, causing trouble for, the dog catchers. So he, at some point, he frees his friends, Peg and Bull, who are a Pekingese and a bulldog, and then he finds himself in Lady's neighborhood. So overhears Lady talking, and she was talking to her two friends, Jock and Trusty, and she was telling them that the owners were being distant, and they said that she might be pregnant, and that's why she's being distant. So of course Tramp overhears this, and he says that once the baby moves in, the dog moves out. So that's not good. So once the baby's born, Lady's relieved because she meets the baby and everything is fine again. So that part of the story is where this song comes in. It's La La Lu. It's kind of for the baby. So let's play that one. It's slow and pretty. Okay, so what happens now? The owners end up leaving and taking a short trip. So Aunt Sarah comes in to take care of the baby and Lady. So Aunt Sarah doesn't like dogs. She also brings her 2 Siamese cats. So the 2 Siamese cats are like any cats. All cats try to get into trouble, just like the Cheshire cat. So their names are Cy and Am, like Siamese twins, get it? So they at this point Sarah doesn't let Lady see the baby, which drives her crazy. So the cats destroy the place. So this is when this sound comes in and they sing their Siamese cat song. Okay, so that's this one. Here we go. So they totally destroy the place, but they blame Lady and they pretend they're hurt. So Sarah takes Lady to the pet shop and she puts a muzzle on her. So at that point, Lady flees to the streets. So she's pursued by 3 savage dogs, but luckily Tramp finds her and intervenes. And he takes Lady to the zoo and some beaver removes the muzzle. So that's fine. So then he shows her his lifestyle. They explore the town, and then the classic part of the movie where they have the spaghetti dinner happens, and that's when we play Bella Notte. So remember that when they're eating the spaghetti and then they don't realize they come close and they almost kiss kind of thing. It's cute. It's really cute. Okay, so this is Bella Notte. So this is. There we go. So Bella Notte. So that was cute. I like that part. So Tramp asks Lady to stay and just live the lifestyle with him, but she can't. She has to go home to the baby. So what ends up happening is I don't know, he's chasing some chickens or something, and the dog catcher finds them and catches Lady, not Tramp. So she meets other dogs in I was gonna say the prison, what do they call it? The pound. So she meets them and they tell her that Tramp's the Lady's man. So Sarah eventually comes and claims Lady at the pound. She chains her to the backyard to punish her. Tramp comes by and he apologizes, and Lady kind of berates him and she's like, sends him away. Don't come near me kind of thing, right? So yeah. And then she sees a rat sneaking into the house to get to the baby, like this huge rat. So Lady tries to warn Sarah by barking and stuff, but nothing. So Tramp comes back and he sees what's going on. He goes into the house to save the baby, and Lady breaks the chain and gets in and follows him. So the rat and Tramp have this big fight, and but Tramp ends up killing the rat, luckily, even though he's injured. So during the struggle, the actual crib overturns, so the baby starts crying. So Sarah assumes the dogs hurt the baby. So I think she locks up Lady, and then sends off Tramp with the dog catcher, right? So then the owners get back home, and Tramp's gone with the dog catchers, and they're gonna euthanize him. But the owners don't believe Sarah, so I think Lady shows them the rat so that they believe her. And then eventually they get Tramp out. So that's basically it, because then later on, after that, it comes back and it's Christmas time. And at this point, Tramp is part of the family now. Him and Lady have 4 puppies, so that's really cute. So guess what? Everybody lives happily ever after again. So because it's Christmas time, the song Peace on Earth is played. It's not the version I know, it's just like one that Disney made, I guess. So this is the last song. It's called Peace on Earth, and then we're all set. Okay, here we go. And that's the end. Thanks for listening. See you tomorrow. Hey guys, Disney Day 14. This is my attempt to get caught up. I'm going to do a couple of quick little pieces too. This is from The 3 Little Pigs. It was by Disney, and it's called Who's Afraid of the Big Bad Wolf? Ta-da! Thanks for listening. Have a good day.